Hello, this is Paul Milligan for IC Show TV at IC 2020 in Amsterdam. Many thanks for joining us for this latest video. I'm joined today by Bryce from AJA Video Systems. Welcome, Bryce.
Good morning, how are you?
Yes, I'm very well. You?
Good. Great to be at ISC 2020 again.
Wonderful. First question. Video can often be a slow process, taking days to get files kind of finished and in that regard. I mean, how can you guys help with that process? How can you speed things up maybe?
So when it comes to video and getting it from where it's sourced to where it needs to go, luckily today we got a bunch of alternatives, right? So the first thing might be you can stream it. And so we make devices like the Hilo, and what that'll do is encode to H.264, and you can get pretty good quality by doing less compression and recording it while we simultaneously stream it, and you can adjust the encoding for the stream separately. So if you're a little restricted on bandwidth, get a good recording, stream live to Facebook, to Twitch, to Wowza, any of the major CDNs. Yeah. So we make it possible that way. If you're doing multi-camera, which is often the case for bigger live events, you can work with our I.O. cards. We got the Kona line of desktop cards, and we have Thunderbolt products known as our I.O. products, and you combine that with streaming software. So that could be with vMix, Wirecast, any of the popular devices, and you can actually use the software to switch that live. So you're doing sort of broadcast switch there. And then these days we also record to our pack drives for our more professional recorders. Let's say you're going for a very uncompressed look and you're using Apple ProRes high quality. We're recording to SSDs. You can transfer that very quickly. There's a range of alternatives, and we come from the broadcast space originally, so we've been doing live television for a long time, all the major sports events around the world. So we have the ability to convert signals in real time with a lack of latency. And then, I think a lot of your viewers are looking at AV over IP, which is another way moving just beyond typical streaming to uncompressed video. So we've got SMPTE 2110 products that help you literally go from camera all the way to your end destination point, wherever that might be.
Sure. I mean, you mentioned the broadcast heritage there. It's something we've always been interested in you guys because of that and what it says about the AV industry as a whole. I mean, typically broadcast products had a broadcast type budget to them, yes, which kind of put them out of reach of quite a few kind of AV integrators, AV projects and stuff. I mean, how can you guys help in that regard?
So I think what's happened is it's come from both directions. So in the broadcast space and just the way technology moves, we put more and more stuff into products that cost less and less based upon literally the cost of goods for sale. So there has been downward pressure on pricing even within the broadcast space, and trying to do more with less. That's just a normal historical trend. And then within the AV business, customers, it's no longer a little postage stamp of a video for a corporate conference anymore. Customers have been trained through their consumer habits to expect more, better quality. I mean, you get your average iPad or something today, you've got HDR, you've got 4K, you've got a great screen. So within the AV space, there's also been a desire to move up, so to speak, in terms of the quality levels. And we're at a point right now, we've been engaged within the AV industry for quite some time, where that lack of latency is also key, right? Somebody wants to announce a new product, there's a concert going on, they want to deliver to YouTube or whatever it might be, or you want to introduce your product to all your resellers around the globe. It's becoming more and more sophisticated, and I think that's just a general recognition that video and audio are great communication tools. Yeah. And if you're trying to spice things up, if you're trying to create enthusiasm in your workforce, etc., they're just too powerful to ignore.
Yeah. And final question, are you seeing demand for, or you've been questioned about HDR, and how does you guys fit in with that? Can you supply that sort of demand?
Yeah, when it comes to HDR, AJA took a very conscious decision to help move the entire industry along with HDR. We were one of the first in. We had to learn a lot because color is not a simple science. The overall goal really spoke to us and our end users, and the idea is to get to what we call HVS, which is the human visual system. And we know that when you're able to take dynamic range and color and bring it a little closer to reality, it's quite strong emotional engagement. And what you get with HDR is also a sense of texture. So because you got more gradations of hue, because you got more dynamic range, you literally feel texture. And it's almost got a 3D feel in a 2D space. And it can be done with HD or 4K. I think there's a misconception that you need to be in 4K or something to do HDR. It applies equally to HD. So when it comes to the range of products, we've done it across the board. So whether it's our full-on FSHDR, which is an HDR SDR conversion tool, it's also capable of taking log off the camera formats and converting it into the PQ color space or HLG. That allows us to then deliver it in any of the forms that people need today. So we can pump it out as HDR10, again, HLG. We do all that in real time. So we've been doing that for all the major sports events. The Super Bowl just happened, for instance, in the States. So we're working at the highest levels, but the point is you might be doing your small project, you want to do HDR, you can use a tool like that. Then when you start editing, the question becomes, does your I/O product understand it? Yes, we have control panel settings for our I/O cards, for instance, so you can trigger your HDMI monitor to play it back correctly. We got little mini converters that'll take your SDI signals, put them to HDMI, and tell the screen what's going on, because that's part of what's happening. And then over time here, we work through SMPTE, which is the engineering society that's come out of the broadcast space, where the standards are being set to actually carry that kind of information in a signal, which means you can handle it over IP as well. So it doesn't really matter, the platform there. It may seem complicated, it really isn't. There's 2 or 3 major workflow paths. And to help people, we actually created an HDR webpage under solutions. So if you go to aga.com, you can actually learn a lot about how it works. And I think in our space here with AV, it's big. People need it for concerts. You know, they need it for sports stadiums, because the ability to get more out of that big screen. It's not enough to just have a big screen if it's just flashing white. If you really want to make it a rich experience, HDR is going to contribute a lot there.
Yeah, brilliant. Bryce, as always, fascinating to talk to you. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.